So I've started recording. So let's talk about you, Maryam, and about your program and what you study at U of T. So you're doing a double major, right?
Yes, I'm doing a double major in health studies and political science, and I'm currently in my fourth year. Basically trying to complete my undergrad.
So how did you end up in a double major? Was that always the plan, or did you just pick one up along the way?
It was not always the plan. I actually just wanted to do health studies and get into population health. But when I took a political science elective in my first year, I realized that I can draw a lot of connections from political science into the healthcare field. And I just was really interested. I became really interested in the politics side of things. So I just wanted to combine them together and really pursue a career with both of my interests, both in politics and in healthcare.
All right. So how did you settle on UTSC in the first place? You know, thinking back 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was that you were looking at universities, what was the thing about UTSC that made you go here?
For me, I think the biggest thing about UTSC was that it was very close to home. And I know that UTSC is a commuter school, so for most students, a lot of people don't live too far away. And that was like a big thing for me when I'm trying to choose a school. And though it is a smaller campus, I kind of felt inclined because a smaller community meant maybe a stronger community in a sense, and that's exactly what I found to be actually. So far it's going great, and I think the stronger community really helped me kind of foster a lot more closer friendships and more meaningful experiences.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know for you, the university experience, it's not just been academics. You seem to be involved in things along the way the entire time. How did you end up deciding to do things beyond just typical classroom work?
For me, I think throughout the course of my undergrad, I have been really fortunate to be so involved in so many different extracurricular activities in like various capacities. And coming from high school to UTSC, I really wanted to join clubs for the social aspect and make friends, but also feel like I'm connected to that greater community. So in my first year, I joined a debate club to improve my public speaking skills, such as like Model UN, and then a health science competition club called HOSA, which actually became a really big part of my life at UTSC in the coming years. And I wanted my university experience to be like beyond the academics. I was really into experiential learning and like hands-on things. That kind of led my pursuit in joining a lot of clubs.
Now, with the academic side of things, when you were, I know that for a lot of people, like families are very important in their decision to go to school, and then with the program they're involved in and whether they get involved in extracurriculars. And I know that was the case for me, and being so involved in extracurriculars, a little bit I felt like I had to prove to my family that it was the right mix, that not just focusing on school was the right decision for me. Did that happen to you at all?
For me, I wanted just like a really wholesome experience. Especially like in pursuing a career, after undergrad and beyond like academics, I wanted to get like a lot of different kinds of experience. And actually, like through these experiences, I gained a lot of transferable skills. With each organization, like I learned something new or improved an existing skill, whether it was communication, organization, critical thinking, teamwork, and even problem solving. So I find that I was able to develop these outside of the classroom, and that's what kind of inspired me to be a part of clubs and really kind of take charge of my own learning. That's what I found to be like really important and meaningful for me in joining clubs.
So let's talk about HOSA, because I know you were there. Like, were you there right at the beginning of HOSA?
I was, yes. I joined as a general member in my
Yeah,
first year.
and so HOSA is even still a relatively new club on our campus, but it's already one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in terms of the outreach, and the number of total events that HOSA puts
Mhm.
on is
Mhm.
staggering, right?
Right.
Now, so how did you end up in a brand new club like that in the first year? How did that happen?
For me, it was during Clubs Week. I was at the meeting place, I remember, and HOSA was boothing. And HOSA has quite a big reputation. It was just starting out in Canada, actually. It was a really big deal in the United States. So when I saw that it was at UTSC, I felt very inclined to join it because I didn't get an opportunity to join HOSA in high school, which in grade 12, that's when HOSA came to my high school. And so I was like, whoa, this is really cool. It's a competition. It's a health science competition club. So it kind of does it kind of does connect to my program, and I really wanted to make new friends. I wanted to increase my improve my public speaking skills, and I wanted to be a competitive student. So kind of HOSA catered to all of that, and I decided to join it. I joined the category of Biomedical Debate. So there are there are many different kinds of categories you can join based on your interests. So I decided to do Biomedical Debate. And that year, my team ended up placing in third place nationally, and I had the opportunity to go internationally to Orlando, Florida, to compete with students from all over the world, and that was such an amazing experience. And because of how great my first year experience was, I wanted to continue with HOSA, so that kind of led me to stay on the next year and help other students compete nationally and internationally. So I became a training coordinator. So I used to help students in biomedical debate category and really mentor them on debate skills. And after that year, I was like, I wanted to go a step further, and I became elected to serve as the president for this organization. And it's really remarkable to see how HOSA has progressed throughout the years. It is definitely one of the biggest clubs on campus, and I think more than the numbers, what was important to me when I was president was like the quality of the organization and ensuring that the members had a really great experience like I did. And so for me, when I was president, I tried to focus on ensuring that members have a good experience in their training sessions, that their training sessions are fun and educational, but that they also have a good time. And for me, I had a really great connection with my trainer in my first year. So I wanted to foster that mentorship experience as well for the other members. And it was so much fun. And I ended my journey with HOSA last year, and I decided to move on to something else. But it was a really great club, and I really encourage any students to really join it, because it's not just open to health science students. It's really kind of caters to everything, and I think it would be really beneficial for anyone to join.
Mm-hmm. So having been there, that's quite the journey, So having been from the very beginning up until to becoming the president of the group, what would you say are the different types of skills you needed to either acquire or you learned from doing the job each year? Because every year you would have had different responsibilities, right? So
Sure.
from the beginning up until president, what was that journey like in terms of building your skill set?
So, joining as a general member, I think you don't have that much responsibility. It's basically how much you put in is how much you get out. And that was kind of important in placing nationally. So you did have to put in the work, especially it was a team category. I had to work with my team a lot to really get our speeches done and come to the training sessions and learn from our training coordinator. So it wasn't that much of a responsibility, but it did help me with fostering to be able to be a team player. And I thought that was pretty important. But then moving on to the following year as a training coordinator, I didn't have any mentorship or tutoring experience, but I was just really interested and I really wanted to help people. So I think that passion and what I already learned from my first year, I kind of put that into my role and position in my second year, and I just let it happen, and it turned out to be great. I didn't really I didn't really have the full-on experience per se for a training coordinator, but if you're really passionate about something, if you really want to help people, I think you can kind of develop those skills. So basically, So for that position, I developed mentorship skills and teaching skills, and and I think the members really benefited from that, from being able to ask me questions and learn from my experience. And then in the third year, I think the responsibility definitely jumped a lot when I became president. You're the official spokesperson for the organization. You have to be in charge of all kinds of different things. There was like a 200 member base, so that was pretty big. From managing sponsorships to events, event planning, and registration and sales. It was definitely a lot of work. But I think one of the biggest skills in becoming president was the ability to delegate, and teamwork and cooperation. I found those to be really important. If you have a good team who also has the same vision as you, they'll definitely be supportive. And so I was really fortunate to have a really great team, so I didn't feel very overwhelmed. And when I delegated work, it was great because everyone did their job, and the year turned out really amazing. So I'm really thankful to my team, actually, who were very helpful.
So with that big transition of experiences, do you feel like these things are all going to be valuable in helping you with a career one day?
100%. I think being the president of HOSA, I felt like I was running a small business, and it was so interesting actually because you're managing so many different components. You're dealing with money, you're dealing with sales, you're dealing with different stakeholders, you're representing the organization, and then along the way, like beyond what you're doing, you're also like developing these skills. You're developing how to be responsible and leadership and communication, and these are all really important and valuable skills that I probably wouldn't have learned within academics, within my classes. And I think I was kind of thrown into the deep end of the pond, and I had to like really figure out how to manage this organization, and I learned how to do it through having these experiences and also through the challenges. There are definitely a lot of challenges that came with running this organization, and a lot of things I had to deal with on my own because I didn't have a whole lot of that leadership experience that was needed for this organization. But along the way, you do learn it. And I definitely am a firm believer that in challenges, you do learn a lot, and it was really helpful. And I really do hope that I can continue to learn and grow and utilize everything that I have learned so far in my future career.
Mm-hmm. I liked what you said about being thrown into the deep end. I haven't really thought about it that way before, but it makes sense. I think, being involved in organizations like that, in some ways, it's a low risk way to get that experience and have to figure things out because it's not like a job where you're concerned about losing income from making mistakes. It's a bunch of young adults getting together trying to figure things out as a group, right?
Right. And
go ahead.
There is no course about how to be a president or how to be an executive. Like you kind of just have to figure that stuff on your own. But I think what I had this pressure to live up to with the organization itself. In the first and second years, the presidents did a wonderful job. They did a really, really great job about organizing this and really making it the best club on campus and getting those awards from SESU. So I think coming to this organization, that pressure was a good thing because I had to live up to the standard. And I really also wanted to make sure that other students had the opportunity to have a really great experience like I did, and I wanted a lot of students to compete internationally as well, and that's exactly what happened. We had so many students compete internationally, win awards in Orlando, Florida again, and I think for me that was the most rewarding thing about this whole experience. So that was really fantastic to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's I guess, was it in HOSA's second year that it won that SCSU award?
Yes, I believe it won it in this first year, actually. It won it every single
year. Oh, wow.
Every single year. In the first year, it won the President's Award and the Best Club on Campus Award. The second year, it won the Club Executive Award. And in the third year, we won the President's Award again. So it was really really great to see. And this is the 4th year, so hopefully, I'm not sure if there'll be a CSU spring formal.
Yeah, I wonder how that'll get managed.
Yeah, but I still do
Uh,
hope that they give out awards.
yeah, yeah. It's what you were saying about there's no course to teach people to be a president. That is fascinating because we've you and me in particular have talked about what kind of training can we offer to club leaders, and so I guess having had all year working together on the campus groups portfolio, now that we're stuck at home in self quarantine, maybe now is the time to try and make that course.
Yeah, for sure. I think it would definitely be a great addition to what DSL offers for clubs, and hopefully that is something that we can work on. And I think it will definitely benefit a lot of students like me who are kind of thrown into it without really knowing what goes into it, and knowing how DSL works, how event planning works. And I know our campus groups orientation workshops do cover a lot of that, but I think it would be nice to have those leadership skills as well.
Yeah, and for people who can't commit to doing, everyone has a different level of comfort with doing things beyond academics, right? People's course loads vary, and so not everyone can take on everything all at the same time and feel comfortable doing that, be successful doing that. It's not the right path for everyone. So knowing that not everybody can spend a whole bunch of extra time doing training, it is good to hear that from your perspective, even though you were kind of thrown into things and had to figure it out as you went, it was okay, right? You came out the other side and it was a successful experience, I would say.
It was, yeah, for sure. It was definitely okay. It was fantastic, actually. But if I was to give a piece of advice to other leaders, I would say,
yeah, definitely.
When you're going into this organization, sure, there might be a lot of pressure. Might feel anxious. You might feel a little stressed out. But I would advise that you kind of go into whatever it is that you go into with a good, positive outlook. And we see, Jonathan, you and I, we see a lot of club conflict, and sometimes it's really sad to see that. But I think clubs need to think, or club leaders need to think about that. We shouldn't really be trying to kind of thinking about like the small things that don't really matter. Try to think about the bigger picture. Try to work with everyone as cooperatively as you can. This is a really short period of time that we have, that you're probably going to be a student leader, and it is actually a really memorable time. And looking back at all my experiences, everything went by so fast. So I would just say, just take it easy. Really go in with a positive outlook. If you have that positive outlook, everything will go okay. And just try to keep up that teamwork and make sure that everything is going smoothly, like in terms of collaborating with other people. And I think that's definitely a really challenging aspect of joining clubs, because not everyone is super experienced in that aspect as well. And that's a big component of campus groups. That's a big component of being a student leader, is working with other people. But I definitely do think it's important to just kind of go in there positively and try to just enjoy the experience, because I feel like when you enjoy the experience, you do end up doing a better job, rather than trying to do it as a task.
Yeah, it's what I think that I know that having been in the workforce for a number of years, I know there are many different workplaces out there that promote a lot of professional development, and I'm lucky UTSC is one of them, where we get a lot of opportunities to develop our skills while we're working, conferences, workshops, things like that. But for many people, university is the last great chance, I think, to be surrounded by a bunch of people who want to learn and want to have new experiences and try new things, and where mistakes aren't the end of the world, where they can, sure, they matter, but they're not going to disrupt the whole organization. There's a lot of trial and error that goes on with, and not just clubs. I mean, obviously we're talking about clubs because that's what we work on, but with any extracurricular experience, you have to try it and see how it goes and figure out if it works for you and what you're going to gain from it. And, I know, like, you in the last year or so, you tried some different things, right? You you went to that conference last summer. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that kind of came about from your involvement on campus.
Yes, I did. I applied to be part of this uh, summer leadership program, which was held in Cape Town, South Africa. It was 1 week long, and it brought together student leaders from around the world, and it mainly focused on one important topic, which was mental health and the power that student leaders have in um, influencing positive mental health within the campus community. And it was really a fantastic workshop because it really made me realize like how much power that student leaders have, the influence that they have, and it was really inspiring to see that there are so many different student leaders from all over the world, and they do exist, and it was really nice to interact with them in one place and learn from them as well. Different schools do things differently, and it was really interesting to see that, and to really get new perspectives on how to be a leader, what it means to be a leader, how you influence people, and really how to lead. So that was really interesting and fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that the experiences you have locally can lead to these really interesting international experiences, right? It's yeah, it's so that's the type of thing that even I didn't know that that conference existed before, but knowing how great it was for you, it's the type of thing I would certainly recommend to students in the future if it comes up as an opportunity. It might not be happening this summer now, but you know, down the line, I'm sure it'll come back, and it'd be a great thing to offer to students.
I definitely would always encourage students to get involved in um, international opportunities and experiences as well. Like whether it was like this leadership workshop or even studying abroad, that's also something I participated in at the end of my first year. I did a summer abroad um, to Jerusalem at the Hebrew University. And it's really interesting because you get such a unique perspective on things. You learn from in different ways. I learned really hands on when I did my summer abroad, and it was so different from what I learned at UTSC. And I think it's important to have an international perspective as well. And even within our clubs, our campus groups, there are a lot of opportunities to go internationally, compete internationally. So I would really encourage students to try to do that if that's something they're interested in, because traveling is a lot of fun and you do learn a lot.
Yeah, it's and it's certainly a priority of the university right now as well to help students have these international experiences. So I'm sure I'm going to chat with some of the International Student Center staff not too far in the future from now, and we'll get to hear from them about all the opportunities that students do have to go abroad. So the one thing that people can't do right now is go abroad because of the COVID-19 situation. And I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because that's impacting students quite significantly. And so someone like yourself, who is right on the edge of graduating in the middle of March of your last year, you switched to online courses, and now you're at home every day trying to finish up. Today, I guess, is your last day of classes ever. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
So what's that been like for you to have to switch the way you're learning towards the very end of school?
Um, it's definitely very challenging and also very sad. Um, it's really sad that graduation had to be canceled. It's a big milestone for many students, especially with all the hard work and dedication that goes into completing a degree. It's a time to celebrate all of those achievements and all that hard work. And it's also like a rite of passage, moving on to a completely new stage of life. And as the eldest child, I know that graduation is something that not just me, but my entire family was looking forward to. And I understand like these measures are being taken to for the safety and security of people. So I do understand that it's necessary, and our health is the priority. So I hope that those who are graduating can try to find creative ways to celebrate. But definitely, been really challenging. And because I really had a great university experience, I enjoyed school, I enjoyed all the clubs I was involved in. I was really counting on the time I had left to wrap up and tie everything together. And the fact that it ended so abruptly was really hard for me to kind of tie everything together. But it's giving me, now that I'm home, I have a lot of time to think about everything. And it's kind of sad because you kind of wish you did a couple other things to end it off, and which you can't do. But yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, from the perspective of staff who work with so many students on campus, um, the number of things that have had to change are pretty dramatic. Like we were supposed to have a celebration with all of our work study students at the end of the year, and here you and I are talking now, but I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to see you in person, and you're graduating. So it's not like it'll be, show up in September and we can hang out and chat. It's going to have to be some other way, right? And I know with the convocation, I know many students are very disappointed, and I believe the university has clarified that there will be something done to celebrate convocation. But the point you brought up about being the eldest child in your family and having it be such a family, such an important day for families is something that when I talked to Mo last week, he actually said something quite similar. And it's such an interesting perspective that it, makes me think I'm too old and out of touch now, because I kind of forgot about that aspect truly. Like I remember convocation and it being an exciting day, but I almost wonder if it was more exciting it was sad for me because it was the end, and it might have been more exciting to my family to be able to go and see that than it was for me because I was sad,
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think this is something that my family was really looking forward to. I'm not only the oldest child, I'm the oldest cousin, so I have a lot of younger cousins. Everybody's looking up to me, and everyone was looking forward to it. So I'm sure they're going to be a little bit sad, but that doesn't mean we won't find some creative way to celebrate something or in some way. So I hope we end up doing something.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure the university is gonna find some way to celebrate our graduates for this year. So in terms of between now and graduating, or between even a few weeks ago when we switched to the online courses, I guess this was the third full week or so of online courses. What's that been like for you? That experience of how have your professors handled it? Are they doing live lectures? Are they recording things in advance and releasing them all at once? How's that worked out?
Different professors are doing different things. Some are recording in advance, some are doing them live on Zoom, and some are not doing them at all. So it's really interesting. And I'm not a huge fan of online learning. I'm someone that's really hands on. So it's a little bit different for me. It's actually very hard for me to adjust to the online learning, but I think it took me some time. I remember the first week I was just like kind of in a state of shock because I was just not in the right headspace to get anything done or be productive at all, because I had always been so busy and I always had so much to do or something I had to do or somewhere I had to be or somewhere I had to go. So, as a social, outgoing person who really thrives off of being busy, adjusting to the social distancing and the lockdown and online learning was really hard. But with time, I was able to transition to studying and working from home. And with 5 younger siblings, sometimes that's also hard. But I think something that helped me cope with the quarantine is taking care of myself and my own health. It's really easy for students to feel really overwhelmed sometimes and stressed out when working from home, especially when when it's like the end of the semester and the workload is sometimes really heavy, and just the anxiety around online exams and how that might work. But for me, I'm not someone who really enjoys working out or getting exercise or going for walks, and sometimes be challenging. So it's kind of unfortunate that for a lot of us, our our lifestyles have become pretty sedentary. But something that I started doing to relieve stress and anxiousness during quarantine is to start my day with yoga and breathing exercises. And I find that to be really helpful for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see everyone has a thing they're doing to try to ground themselves and
Yeah.
help them get through this, because it's such a weird and unique scenario we're all going through, and it's not like one day everything shut down and life changed. It's been a gradual shift, right?
Yeah.
As things have shut down over time. I'm waiting, I think, in an hour or so from now, the provincial government's coming out with another projection on certain things that they want to be closed and for how long it'll need to happen. And so that'll, again, be another shift. Things are going to change even more.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely really uncertain and really scary, but I hope that this is flattening the curve and that the cases probably, hopefully, eventually will go down. But yeah, I really do encourage people to do something that helps them relieve stress. It's really interesting. I would actually encourage a lot of people to do breathing exercises because breathing has a lot of health benefits, from improving your blood flow to increasing your energy and also strengthening your immune system. And I'm sure everyone's really concerned about their immune system at this time, but
Definitely.
it's really interesting because breathing exercises oxygenates your blood, which carries and absorbs nutrients and vitamins more efficiently. So it really does strengthens your body's ability to fight off anything quite strongly. So simple breathing exercise in the morning, you'll feel so much more relaxed and less stressed. So I really hope people can implement that in their daily lives.
Well, that's some good advice from someone who is wanting to end up in the health field and working on health policy. So I guess, wrapping up here, what are you going to be doing next, do you think? I know there's some uncertainty now with how things are going to play out for students and recent graduates. The job market might be a little bit different than it was a year ago. But what's your goal? What do you want to be doing by September in a perfect world?
Whoa, that's a really scary question. There's so much uncertainty right now, and I know a lot of graduates are in so much fear because we're graduating into a recession, and I can only imagine.
You're the second straight student to say that exact thing to me, so it's definitely a real fear. I totally agree with that.
It's a real thing, and it's happening already, and it's really scary already with unemployment on the rise with the lockdown and what COVID-19 has done. It's definitely really scary and sad. But I do have hope because I think in uncertainty, there is hope. There is hope in uncertainty. So I think that doesn't mean everything's going to go downhill. That doesn't mean we're going to be left jobless. I think we will manage to, get a hold of our careers in some way and in some form. For me personally, I'm taking it one day at a time, one step at a time, but I am looking into some political internships in Ottawa for the year starting in September. So unfortunately, some of the summer internships I applied to in Ottawa have been canceled. So that was a little bit sad for me, but I understand sometimes decisions need to be made. And so I'm looking forward to what might happen in September and hopefully starting off a career if everything goes well. If not, we'd probably have to get a little bit more creative too and thinking about how to manage everything and what to do. And when a recession, there's no one tells you how to deal with a recession, and it's just kind of scary for graduates. But hopefully it is not that as bad as we think it might be.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the one good thing, not that much good will come of this at all, right? But for people with degrees like yours, I think there'll be a big demand once we get through all this for people who studied what you've studied, because things are going to have to change, right, to make sure we're prepared for anything like this down the line. So it might take longer than you expected, but I'm sure you'll find a good career path that'll work out for you.
For sure. I really hope so.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and continue to ride out this quarantine, and hopefully you can get one of those internships you're looking for in September.
Okay, thank you so much, Jonathan. This was so much fun, and it was definitely something I was looking forward to, being stuck at home. So this was really nice. Thank you so much.
All right, that's great to hear. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.